Well, good morning, everybody. Hello, Bryan. Thanks for being here with me this morning. Hi, everybody. Thanks for being with us here at this live this morning. It's not a usual time frame for this live. We normally do it kind of like end of the day or something like that. But there's a whole lot more people that actually look at this after it has been live. So there's a lot more people that watches the video afterwards. So
Ricardo, thank you for having me. I appreciate you having me on for this. I don't usually get an hour of time to talk about this important topic. So this is very exciting for me as well. So thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Bryan. So please tell us a little bit about your career. You're CTO for SAS. You have this huge team of people developing very exciting projects and products. So tell us a little bit about, your own personal experience before and joining SAS and after joining SAS.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, well, I started out actually in the intelligence community dealing with a lot of large scale analysis of unstructured data and structured data and how to build, if you will, reports out of the integration of these two different types of data sources. And just to give you a perspective, in 1998, I was working on systems that had 20 terabytes of data a day. And back then, that's a really large amount of data. And so over the years, I just kept working on these very large systems that needed to kind of combine knowledge of an organization with the latest and greatest, if you will, event data happening around the organization, as well as sensor data. And it really, I didn't appreciate it then, but I certainly appreciate it now, and how much it enabled me to understand what it takes to build out large scale analytic and now AI capabilities in the market. And so in about, I think around 2007, I became the CTO of we were a smaller consulting firm, about 50 people in size at the time. And we were building some incredibly advanced things for Department of Defense and other parts, and even in commercial as well. And at that point, SAS had reached out and was interested in identifying, emerging companies that were doing some really, really exciting things with AI and analytics, or at least at that point, analytics and big data. That's what they would have called it back then.
Yeah.
And so they saw us as this very nimble, agile company to take a look at. And we ended up talking with them, and the SAS is so well known for their value system and how they treat employees and all the really exciting work they've done in the market. It really aligned with who we were as a company. And then from that, they asked to, they made an offer to acquire us. Our CEO at the time, Dwayne Robinson, was really, really excited about the alignment, again, of the values as well as the mission of what SAS was doing in the market. And so then I was introduced and brought on board into SAS. And there I was working more in the federal space for a lot of government type work. So I was downstream to the product. And then in about 2013, there was a big push for cybersecurity needs, and where I was asked to take over building out a advanced analytic capability for cyber. Mm-hmm. And as we built all of that out over the years, we built some incredible capabilities that improved the core products of SAS itself. So that led me then to them asking me to take over things in DevOps, so to reimagine our CI/CD pipeline for our software, which then led to me leading the engineering for our platform. And then in 2021, I was asked to take over the CTO role. So it's been not a straight path to this role, but it was really about, for me personally, trying to adapt to where the company needed me to play my role and for me to try to do the best job I could in whatever role was being asked of me at the time.
And Bryan, so you came from the intelligence community and mostly on cybersecurity and into AI, right? I
Yes,
mean, so
yes.
it's I haven't heard that many people that have done that route. Uh, so it seems to be a bit unusual, but
the thing is, it's interesting is because if you, in the Department of Defense intelligence space, there's a lot of we call multi-int work where you have to deal with video, unstructured data, structured data, extract entities out of unstructured data, and then connect those dots to help protect people and society. And so there's a lot there that is very, very much analogous to what's happening today with businesses. They're trying to really make the most out of their unstructured data and also marrying it up with structured data. And the movement towards AI today is really, like we've said in the intelligence community, used to say that we spend 80% of our time trying to just get access to the data and 20% of the time analyzing it. And with the new world of AI, we're starting to really, for the first time in history, we believe we have the ability to maybe change those ratios and start spending more time analyzing the data versus gathering and collecting it.
oh yeah, so that's very exciting. And so once you come into the role, and now you're in charge of developing products, and SAS being this company that's well known for analytics for decades.
Yeah.
So what was kind of like the challenge of taking all of your experience into kind of like growing this portfolio and taking it to the future into this AI age?
I really appreciate this question because I think it's something that many people can learn from, even in their businesses, which is that when you're successful at the scale and timeline that we have been. So we've been in business now. We'll celebrate our 50th birthday as a company in 2026 next year. Now, there's amazing things about that, right? It's you're a proven technology provider. We've created incredible technology and domain expertise in many industries, but customers can form an opinion of you based on the software they're running, not the software that they currently have. So they might have older versions of your software and they think of you only as in what that version of that software is. And so for me, the biggest two big challenges for me when I took over the role was I wanted to make sure we could consolidate our portfolio around our latest data and AI platform, which is SAS Viya. So we have, I would say, three core parts of our portfolio: our platform, which is SAS Viya, our solutions built on Viya, and then we call our models and agents really that are basically coming out that are all integrated with all of that. And the biggest part in all that was taking a portfolio that was, that's had a lot of years in it and really cleaning it up and organizing it into a much simpler set of offerings that is easier for our customers to understand and easier for our customers to integrate. But we still support all of our customers who are working on our existing software, like SAS 9 is a well-known software platform that's out there massively across the world with millions of users. But what we want to do is make sure that those customers are served well, but we also want to create a value proposition towards SAS Viya that allows them to move to that seamlessly and then gain the value of being a cloud-native data and AI company, leveraging our latest and greatest technology. So that for me has been really the push. I'm really on my 5th year of being in the role as CTO, and I'm really proud of the work we've done in achieving that mission. And then the second part of that is me getting out on the road, talking to customers and really reintroducing the brand and letting them understand that we not only do we, are we cloud native and run on the cloud of your choice, we can run on-prem, which is unique in the market with the same code base. But we support open data formats. We support open languages. We'll support Python, R, SAS. Uniquely, we support that better than most. And then also this idea of AI governance. We are incredibly capable of managing the entire data and AI lifecycle because we've been doing it longer than most. So as a result of this, we understand what it takes to deliver real ROI for a business with a cutting edge technology like AI and traditional machine learning, because 50 years you have to prove your worth over time. As I say, a good song stands the test of time. Well, I think we're a pretty awesome song.
And it's like is the challenge of taking kind of like a product that has been innovative, but at the same time, it's legacy, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and take it into something new. I've seen that you guys have been doing a lot of great stuff with Viya,
Yes.
and therefore, it feels like a brand new platform, and it also needs to represent for a lot of people kind of like a platform they can build on for actually deploying AI into the enterprise.
Yes.
I probably not necessarily kind of like a good comparison, but you have IBM with Watson, right?
Yeah.
And how they were very early with Watson, and at some point nobody really understood what it was, but nowadays it's kind of like a platform where a lot of people are deploying. So, what would be kind of like that game with Viya? Where is Viya headed, and why people should care about Viya and have it on their stack for AI deployment.
Yeah, I think, well, we've actually done some incredible tests in the market, like independent studies against our platform. Because I think what we think right now is that the market is just moving so fast and it's very fractured in vendors. And so customers end up with a very much I would say, option fatigue to kind of figure out how they can integrate AI into their organization. And what we've really focused on is simplifying that complexity as much as possible with low code, no code options. So SAS Viya is about making the idea of a question on data to an answer as simple as possible, leveraging all the tools that are required in the entire AI landscape to get to that answer for a business. And then deploying that in production so that those answers and those insights can be deployed at scale across the organization. And this is a life cycle that we talk about. Getting data, identifying the right data, improving the quality of the data, transforming it in ways that are needed for analysis and training for models, registering those models for governance, making sure those models are fair and unbiased for the decisions of which they're making on behalf of their customers or whatever decision the organization is using them for. And then obviously deploying them easily into their enterprise and integrating them into their enterprise strategy with APIs to make it easy to adopt. We have worked on this for really over a decade of making sure this life cycle happens easily and is integratable. And one of those proud statistics that we saw in a recent study, the Future Report for us, was that 86% of non-technical business analysts, and where they'd have to code, they could drag and drop and create incredible value with our data management capabilities, with their modeling, and our deployment automation, whereas alternatives were like 50% of the tasks could be completed. So what does it do for a business? It actually, first, number one, is it increases the ability for the organization to participate in this data and AI process, which is really important because the more ideas, the more people understand how it's built, how it's created, how it's managed, it allows more people to participate in the ideas of improving the business. The second is that the speed at which you can execute that data and AI lifecycle. If you think about it, this idea of taking data and getting to answers using AI, it's about increasing the learning rate of your organization. And if you're learning faster than your competitors because it's easier to do that entire lifecycle, you are creating a distinct competitive advantage in the market for you. You're going to see the future faster. You're going to see opportunities before your competitors and make decisions and act on it before the market does. And so for us, that's what Viya is all about. It's how do we give our customers a competitive advantage by simplifying this entire data and life cycle without compromising at all on governance. We have one of the most comprehensive governance capabilities in the market for our software.
There was an article in Sloan Management Review from MIT that talked about vibe analytics. And they said, that, some people were doing this, like putting data sets into their LLMs and then making questions and getting insights. I've done it myself. And even in this channel, we have done some tutorials about how to do that. And, I mean, and probably that doesn't talk about the governance, but it does talk about the speed. I mean, how do you take the data and actually gather insights in real time, in a way that is very easy. Even non-technical people can do it, and really add value to your business. So I believe that we should go into that future into which gathering insights is not as complex, can be done by a lot of people, and can be pretty much real time. So
well, let's talk about what you described there, because I think it's really important what you mentioned. The idea of vibe coding, vibe analytics, right? And I understand what people are saying with this phrase of vibe, that vibe, this. But I'm a little concerned we're underserving the market because in other words, like, let me tell you the top 4 industries for SAS, which is financial services, insurance, life sciences, and government. As a company that is responsible for empowering those organizations and those industries with AI, we have to be very careful of how we introduce this technology, because there's very critical decisions that are being made with it.
Yes.
So the idea of vibe coding and vibe analytics is fine for certain use cases, right? If you're trying to build a recommendation engine for a movie or songs, right? I mean, no one's getting hurt with that.
Or some marketing in some industries, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably you can probably kind of like get a lot of speed, and then you still will have to verify whatever the AI gave you. But if you have kind of like a pearl here and there, or a nugget of gold here and there, then it just pays for itself, right?
Yes, and that's all great. But what the issue I think we're seeing right now is, you saw that recent study of 95% of generative AI proof of concepts, right, are failing. It's because I look at this as these kind of 3 phases of AI adoption, really 3 phases of ROI attainment with AI. So first is personal. Personal ROI is what everyone's experiencing right now. They're going home, they're using ChatGPT, they're using M365 Copilot, whatever it may be. And we're all getting that great personal benefit from that ROI experience, or that AI experience. And that feels good. No one's debating that.
Yes.
But the accountability to the outcome of that work on a personal basis with, say, ChatGPT or any other kind of prompt-based interaction, you are still accountable to the results of that. When you hand that to your colleagues, or if you're just sharing with friends, they're still expecting you to provide, you own the results. When you move into this, what companies are looking for now is, what's the business ROI with AI? And the chasm in the middle is business process ROI. It's, how can I take the efficiency of personal use of AI and reimagine the business processes in the middle, such that the company realizes a tangible ROI with AI for their business. And that typically is, the top 2 ones are always revenue, top line revenue growth, and profitability. And it's typically a combination of both.
Yeah,
so I think that's where I'm saying, I think that the market's having this moment right now where it's saying, okay, we all get that people are getting personal value from this, but the big test of the market right now is, how are we going to go and make sure that businesses get tangible return on these investments? And that is actually exactly where SAS is focusing, is how do we make sure that we can scale that personal experience across the business process, that we deliver the results for the business.
Yes. Let me just make a comment to the audience. Please, for all the people that have joined us, if you want to put your questions for Bryan, Bryan is the CTO of SAS. He's visiting Mexico as part of the SAS Innovate event. That is, you're going to be keynote speaker tomorrow, Bryan. Is that it?
That's correct. I'll be on stage tomorrow doing the keynote, and I'm very excited for it.
All right. So we have a comment here, a question here from Igor, he's from SAS, from Brazil. I know him. And he says, good conversation, Ricardo. I'm curious to hear Bryan's perspective on quantum analytics. Can you ask him to share his views on it?
Yeah, I mean, this is an area I'm incredibly excited for. I think we're one of the earliest movers in the market on how to apply quantum to problems today. About 2 years ago, we started to look at the emergence of the market, and everyone's saying, well, the number of qubits in these quantum machines is not enough. And we started to say, well, you know what? One of the things we do well, I should say, at SAS is taking complex problems and reducing them down into more problems that fit into technologies that can help us solve them better. And that's exactly what's happening with quantum. We are able to apply quantum to unsolvable problems right now in ways that we've never seen before. And it's about, in our portfolio, making that use of quantum transparent. Just like you use a GPU today for linear algebra acceleration, we're using quantum computing to accelerate optimization solutions for our customers. And so,
and you're seeing this with good reliability. I mean, the results that yeah. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, it takes two things with this that are very important. Problem selection is very important. You got to understand the problem that we are trying to solve, and does it make sense for to deliver quantum advantage, is what they call it, right? Does the problem lend itself to quantum advantage? And then the second part is we are building hybrid architectures that allow us to take quantum computing and use the best of quantum computing to optimize portions of the problem. And then we integrate it with classical computing, like with our stuff with SAS Viya. We integrate it into our language as well as Python and R, and we allow our users or customers to really leverage quantum in a seamless way with our software, which is incredibly exciting. And we have customers pounding on our door right now, wanting to see in which ways they can actually leverage quantum to give them a competitive advantage.
That's very exciting. Bryan, tell us a little bit about your keynote tomorrow, whatever you can share without stealing your thunder from the stage.
Yeah, no problem. I'm happy to. To me, I think if you look at time in history of what's been happening in technology, obviously we had the invention of the personal computing back in the day. You've got then the internet, which really kind of drove connectivity. You have the cloud that actually it's scaled to build the computational analysis of data. And so the cloud was really in a response to how do we overcome the information overload, right? And now on top of that, we have machine learning, deep learning. We have all forms of AI, whether it be agentic AI, generative AI, agentic AI, or even quantum AI. All of these things are leading to people are asking for is decision intelligence. How do I get an advantage on all this data that I'm dealing with in my organization? And what we want to do is deliver for our customers a decision advantage. It's not about just understanding what's in your data. It's how can we analyze this data in a way that gives you a decision advantage to make a better decision every day in your organization using data and AI. And that's really the driver for the entire keynote. And we go into various aspects of that. We show how the deficiencies of the current generative AI frameworks today are high-risk propositions in things like banking, and then how our software overcomes those risks. We go into digital twins and showing how we are leveraging the latest technology and gaming engines to create incredibly immersive worlds that allow us to help protect the safety of workers and allow customers to ask what-if questions of their manufacturing facilities they could never have asked until they've worked with us. And then we're also looking at how, tangibly showing how we are delivering results with quantum analytics and quantum AI for our customers. So that really is the keynote, if you will, the large language model summarization of the keynote.
Okay, yeah, kind of like ChatGPT, give me the summary. So the other thing is, how do you see agentic AI playing a role in all of this, Bryan, in all of these things that you have discussed, and in actually providing better data and timely data for business decisions?
So I think when we think of what are we asking of agentic? Why does agentic exist? First of all, right? It was all about Gen AI at first, and it was all about chat bots and how do I interact with data and ask questions and get results. And the reality was that the business problems in organizations are much more sophisticated than this kind of chat response model. Exactly. And as a result of that, there's a lot of workflow that happens in an organization. And so now, when you think about this idea of moving from Gen AI to agentic, the reason for this is what business decision makers and leaders are asking for is, can I improve the business process and make it faster, accurately, and reliably? Now, the challenge in agentic is that typically generative AI is faster, no question. But large language models are not accurate always. They can be, but not always. and they're not always consistent. So in those three areas, the opportunity in the market is to apply the right technology to the right parts of that goal with agentic AI. So in other words, what I mean by that is, for instance, when we're working with a customer and they have got calculations to do, which is a deficiency of large language models, how do we use agentic and tool selection to select, for instance, SAS Viya to run a forecast so that the results that come out of SAS Viya are very, very accurate? We know this because customers run our forecasting worldwide on millions of data points. Integrate those results back into the natural language experience that you're associated with generative AI. Yes. And so this idea of how do we integrate agentic in a way that gives this determinism that's so important to businesses to trust the agentic AI. And so right now, we are really at a moment in the industry where we have to overcome the variability of AI if we want to really scale it across the enterprise for businesses. And that requires trust. Trust requires accurate results that are consistent over time. And so that is exactly the mission for what Viya is doing with SAS, and what SAS Viya is doing in the organization, is that we are integrating all of our deterministic AI with the non-deterministic generative AI. And by doing that, we reduce the risk and provide trusted results with agentic AI.
And it seems to be a very similar problem to what you described with quantum, in the sense that, okay, you want the large language model, so the executive, let's say the CEO or COO, can just chat with let's say the ERP, right? Yeah. And make questions instead of waiting for a report. If he has kind of like a particular question about sales in a particular region for a particular product, he can just do it in Spanish or English. And yes. So you want to give that interface. It's a very compelling interface. That just make
it's the lowest barrier to entry is language, right? Exactly. Is human language.
So, and but on the other hand, you have that if you put control in the hands of Gen AI with its reliability issues, then you're gonna have hallucinations from time to time, and some decisions, as you said, of things that you cannot fail, like banking or some of the industries that you guys cover. So how do you go about just kind of like using the LLMs just for the language piece, just so it has that very compelling interface, but on the other hand, where you need to have 100%, you cannot be with 90 something or with 80 something. You need to have kind of like 100% deterministic responses. Then it applies tried and true technology from SAS and other companies.
Yeah, and that is that's one of the biggest areas of research for us, is to make sure we call that tool selection in agentic AI, is that when the prompt asks a question, how do we, with 100% certainty, select the correct tool for any of the calculations that need to be done, or, like you said, deterministic workflows that have to happen in the organization. And so when we do that, we're very excited about this, because we feel like we have some of the most compelling technology. We have something called one of our products called Viya Intelligent Decisioning, that allows us to be very prescriptive on this, and it integrates completely with large language models and other Gen AI components, but it actually provides a very governed, prescriptive and deterministic workflow that allows organizations to use that and build confidence and trust with their agentic AI workflows. And so it's already in production, being used in many places for many customers, where they're using this in manufacturing, they're using it in insurance. We see this is such a huge opportunity, because when you show people what's possible, you build trust, and then they start to think about how they can apply that same technology to more use cases in their business.
Yeah, you mentioned, there was this question from Igor about quantum. You mentioned also applying video game technology to make very realistic digital twins for some simulations, and other business use cases for AI in the enterprise that are exciting, in your opinion.
Yeah, I think that, well, let me get into the digital twin conversation, because it's really fascinating.
Great.
So one of the things that we did, we started first, by the way, from this concept of, okay, we have a fantastic partner. We work with customer Georgia Pacific, and they're one of the largest, kind of paper and pulp manufacturers in the United States, multi-billion-dollar company that is, just so critical to our building of materials and as well as home products. And they have massive manufacturing facilities. These are 400, yards or meters in length. I mean, these are 4 football fields, if you will, in size. And they have AGVs moving through them, like these autonomous guided vehicles. When you think about it, an AGV is simply just a robot forklift, right? It's a robot that can lift things, move pallets from places to place. And so we worked with them and we said, what if we could use the Unreal Engine from Epic Games, right, and build you a point by point replica of your entire facility, and then we're going to analyze in that. We're going to get all the telemetry from that facility, and we're going to analyze the flows of these robots through there to make sure that they can achieve their job and goal. And these are very expensive robots. They're not cheap. They're like hundreds of thousands of dollars a piece, and there's you could have 40 to 50 of these in a plant. So it's very expensive.
And using telemetry like in Formula One. I mean, you're watching the whole thing. I mean, all the robots moving around in real time.
Yes, and so what the first question was, how many do we need in order to achieve the goals of actually going through this process of moving pallets? And so we've built an incredible optimization using AI to understand the routes and schedules of these AGVs, to run them in the best way possible and lower the total cost. We've actually found out that less AGVs are better because you don't have traffic jams if you run them in the right way, and they can actually achieve their mission faster. Now, we built that, demonstrated it, and it is mind-blowing when you see this thing. What we also found is by having the digital twin, though, many of these manufacturing environments have people in them too. So there's the idea of a mixed environment of robots and people. And I don't know if you noticed, but once every 90 minutes, someone dies in manufacturing. This is from the Department of Labor statistics for the U.S.
From an
across
accident.
all of manufacturing. Okay. And so what we looked at and says, well, if we have this digital twin, all right, how do we help that problem? How do we prevent injuries? Well, one thing is that computer vision models are being used today to detect when a person is doing something dangerous. But if you think about it, a computer vision model doesn't have a lot of labeled data. The only time that data is labeled as being a dangerous event is when someone gets hurt. So we don't want an AI model learning at the rate of injury. What we want to do is simulate people in this digital twin in a very safe PI, without compromising any personal information. What we're doing now, taking those same digital twins and putting game characters, people in it, putting them in different situations that are dangerous, and then creating a video feed to a computer vision model that is training itself to recognize those dangerous activities so that we can then signal to the manufacturing plant, stop the line or prevent this person from getting injured. It is profound what we're doing with this. This, we believe, can be an incredible, so the same investment in a digital twin can not only help you optimize the operations of your plant, it can also help improve the safety of the people who are working in it. And we think this is a transformational capability that I believe that all of manufacturing should be looking at.
Well, so you're teaching the AI to avoid putting people in danger without actually putting people in danger, just simulating that.
Yes.
That can be pretty powerful. I mean, you can put it on kind of like, you can do that on let's say networks like telecom and simulate the loads without actually causing a congestion or electricity.
City planning. We're looking at hospitals. We're looking at mining facilities. I mean, when people see this, it's incredible the feedback. We get so many people from so many different industries. It really changes how they're thinking about how they could apply that same approach to their own industry. And it's just very inspiring. And every time I see a demonstration of it, I'm incredibly proud. And we're about to go into production with that too. So very exciting. This is not like some kind of skunk work. It's a real, incredibly powerful capability that we're
and it's something in production today.
It's about to. We're on our way with a couple customers with it. So it's definitely something we see as a massive market opportunity for us.
And so a lot of people don't know where to start, right? And there's this emergence of this new leadership position, which is the chief AI officer. So what's your take on the chief AI officer? We've been in the community in Crea con IA, we've been talking a lot about, the emergence of the role. We have gotten people certified. We have several people that have gotten certified as chief AI officers to be kind of like prepared for the demand that is out there for leadership positions in AI. What's your take on that?
I love it. I'm not less hung up about the title of it. What I think organizations need to do is that this person, first of all, let me describe the characteristics and let's move away from the title. They need to be technically adept with AI. They need to be really understand how to automate things in the organization, and they need to understand the business. So so I look at them as a change agent. So the challenge with any kind of transformational technology is you have teams that have muscle memory, and there's business processes that are ingrained in organizations. And so you have to actively work against that kind of inertia by the status quo. And so for us, and we're actually beginning to do this in R&D as well on our side, is where I'm looking at and inventorying all the business processes in my organization. And I'm asking, how can we rethink these business processes in the context of AI integration? And so I am actually working to go and have change agents go through the organization and start to walk through the business processes there, identify what is the ROI of that change, execute on that, measure, did we achieve what we said we're going to do? And then once we get there through the feasibility, then empower the people, right? Make them feel part of the outcome. Invest in them to now achieve the outcome in the new way with the AI so that it unlocks them to do higher order problems and solve higher order exciting things for the company that actually drives revenue growth, right? I think right now, we think of this AI transformation, there's too much of this idea of just cost cutting, and I think it's very short-sighted. So I think that this idea of a chief AI officer is really about, it's the new change agent, transformation agent for the company to reimagine the business and have someone own that transformational activity.
And some of the things that you talked about, Bryan, are really hard. I mean, they are kind of like a very, logical. I mean, about the qualities of this leader person. But on the other hand, they are really hard to achieve, like having somebody that really knows the business, but also knows technology, or at least how to apply technology, right? I mean, and does not necessarily need to be an expert on kind of like building the models, because he's going to have, or she's going to have people doing that. But he does definitely need to understand how to automate and understand the business, because at the end of the day, it's about solving business problems.
Yes,
it's not about just the AI for itself, and that's kind of like sounds easy, but it's pretty tricky to get to the right person that can actually achieve that and do a real transformation of the enterprise.
It's the same. I mean, I will say this, that we're seeing some of the same problems we've seen with business process engineering over the years, that some of this is not new in the sense of how do you manage transformation of your business. What is new, like you said, is the unique skill sets that are required to kind of do this, and also the top-down leadership approach that's required to push it through the organization. So I actually think that having one person as a lead on this might be a little bit impossible, right? So not everyone has all this. You might get a few unicorns, if you will, that can do both of those things, or all three. But I think you might need a team. Like there's a team here that just their job is to, you got the best of someone who understands what all is possible with AI. You've got someone who is extremely focused on the business outcomes, because to your point, I would bias this thing on the business outcomes. If you're not moving that metric, it's a waste of time, right? Exactly. It's a science experiment. So if you can have a small team that kind of huddles and moves through the organization in a very, very calculated, intentional way, and proves out the return in each of the areas they go into. And then impact, the big one though at the end is it's to empower the people that are there. Show them the way, show them the new way with guaranteed results of the improved outcome to the business. And you create positive momentum in the organization around the adoption of AI. And you actually overcome the resistance of AI in the organization that I think is there today. Because when leaders speak that AI is coming for your job or whatever they, however they couch it.
It just becomes
it's a terrible morale conversation.
Uh-huh.
It's a short-sighted conversation. What we need to do is empower people to basically unlock them, to allow them to solve problems they couldn't solve before, which is going to improve the cost of the business and it's going to improve the revenue of the business.
Yeah, no, completely agree with that. So what's the right governance? I mean, you mentioned that one of the things that SAS is working a lot is in actually the governance of all deploying all of this technology, but deploy it with governance in mind and planned before you deploy, not just as an afterthought of how you're going to handle all the systems and make them sure that they produce the results without incurring into risks. So how do you see the governance? What are the kind of like the key things that leaders need to look into for governance in their AI implementations?
Well, I'll talk about this kind of organizationally, and I'll talk about it from a technology perspective, right? So I think that, let me talk about organizationally what we've done internally, because I think it gives us credibility to talk about it for our customers, right? We about, I guess, 3 years ago, maybe a little over that, we put an incredible leader, his name is Reggie Townsend, as the vice president of our data ethics practice. He reports into me, directly to me in my organization. And it was all about how do we make sure we have eyes on the ground of what's happening in AI and make sure that we understand the implications of this technology as related to people and communities, and specifically those that are vulnerable in the community. And so that first led with, okay, let's understand the regulatory frameworks that are out there. Let's understand how these things can go wrong so that we can know how to make them go right. It's really that simple. Now, as part of internally on that, we have put together an internal AI oversight committee that is across all the functions of our business. So it's beyond just R&D. And now there's a leader that who's going to report into each of those parts of the function that is going to be responsible for this transformational activity we're talking about. So how do we transform R&D? How do we transform sales? How do we transform consulting? And so on and so forth in the organization with AI, of course. That oversight allows us to have a collective visibility into the organization to say, what are the best practices? How do we share them? And make sure we mitigate any risk as we integrate AI technology across the organization. We use a lot of AI in our recruiting, and we want to make sure we're fair to the candidates, that they experience a good process with our recruiting. We're very proud of that, but that's just another example of how internally we're using AI ourselves. And so we need to be able to demonstrate to the market our own actions and accountability to this process so we can then help our customers do the same.
Bryan, when you were talking about all these people that are in the different functions,
yes.
So these people they oversee the transformational activity, or they oversee ethics, or they oversee both? How does it work in your?
The AI oversight committee today is about how is AI being used in each of the divisions organically. And now we're going to start doing is pushing down into the transformational activities in the organization so that we can be very intentional and measured on each of the use cases that we use to transform ourselves. So it's a very, very systematic approach, but fully governed. So those people have jobs. They have other jobs, but they actually, which is great because they're very credible in their respective role in that part of the business, but they're there to help us understand the impact of AI across the entire organization, but specifically from their domain expertise. Now, what I'm doing in R&D is I'm now looking to drive an intentional change function to the development processes that we want to see happen at scale across the entire R&D. Every one of my peers is looking to do the same thing. And so I think we've got the good oversight set up, and now we're pushing down hard on the transformational activities. So I just wanted to share with you how we set that up organizationally. By the way, we get asked by customers to help consult them on that same construct, which we have these AI advisory services that we provide to customers to do exactly the same thing that we're doing internally. Now, from a technology, I'm sorry, did you want to go?
No. Go ahead, Bryan. Go ahead, please.
Now, from a technology perspective, for customers, I look at it and say, all right, here, the number one risk to me with AI is bad results at scale, right? And
that would be kind of like the worst possible scenario, right?
it is,
I
right?
mean,
Yeah.
you implement it badly, and then you make it
Scale.
big.
Yes. And so I really, really recommend that organizations focus on small, like start small, think big, right? But make sure that you've got reliability and trust. You have to build trust into these agentic AI workflows. And that means, like, if you're making a decision, if an agent's making a decision on behalf of a person or a demographic, how are you measuring its fairness in that decision making? Right. One of the things there's a recent paper that came out in like end of 2024 that talked about how large language models were horrifically discriminatory to Black applicants in the United States.
Okay.
And it was in a bunch of models. It was Anthropic, it was OpenAI, it was a bunch of them. And so it's an important lesson to understand these things are trained on the internet. And as we know, historically, there are a lot of bad things that have happened over time to people in the world. And we don't want those bad things to be codified into models that are making decisions on behalf of large parts of society. And so it's really important that people understand the strengths of these models, where their weaknesses are, and then how are you going to compensate for those weaknesses to deliver what is the perceived benefits, which is speed, accuracy, and reliability. How do we deliver those? That's the mission for anyone building agentic AI. And I would argue that if executives are listening, you have to ask this question, because the response to your vendors and how they respond to that, yes, I agree it'll be faster, but is it accurate every time? And is it consistent every time? If they can't answer that, that's a red flag.
Yeah, and it's also kind of like, for many cases right now, it's a bit of a unicorn, what you're describing, right? I mean, it's if you want something that is fast, is reliable, and it's unbiased, and yeah,
it can be done. We've done it. We're in production with these things, right? So, but it takes care, and it takes attention to detail, and it takes knowledge of understanding when a deterministic algorithm needs to be used versus a non-deterministic large language model.
So you're saying that it's mostly understanding kind of like how to build a hybrid model, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And have some parts of the model that are deterministic, traditional IT, and some are AI, and build your agentic workflows that way.
If you hear the language that's used today, people use the phrase like, "Oh, well, the Gen AI is inferencing." There are times where the generative AI should never inference. It should offload that inferencing to a deterministic algorithm or set of math and calculations that we know will come back every time. And basically, the Gen AI is given the answer, and they're just presenting it back in human language form for the next part of the workflow. And so this idea of the hybrid is exactly what you said, is how do you make sure that when the prompt comes in, the proper tool selection occurs, and then when that tool executes, the answer is given back to the large language model to ensure the reliability and accuracy.
Yeah, so the orchestrator needs to have, that control, not the LLM, because the LLM will be kind of like a terrible to actually orchestrate that. And the problem is that some of the tools do exactly that. I mean, they ask the LLM to be the orchestrator, and the LLM is not reliable by today, and probably never will be, right?
Well, the fact that in any large language model, you can set the temperature, right, which is basically this idea of variability. So you can literally set the level of variability you want in a large language model. Now, if you want to apply a large language model to a discovery process, you want some variability. You actually might want its ability to search wider and more varied approaches, but that is not the appropriate use for that when you've got a very consistent business process that needs to have accurate precision. And so that's really, again, it really comes down to people need to be informed. Executive leaders need to be informed of this, and then implementers need to understand the strengths of both and the weaknesses of both.
So where do you recommend people to start? I mean, you have this Mexican company that has been done just kind of like a little bit with either Gen AI or predictive AI. Where should they start into actually having something way more intentional and having something that they become AI based at the end of that journey, right? Or AI first.
I'm always a believer in starting small to get because you're building a new muscle, right? In the organization, you're building a new muscle, a new business process, right? Which is what is the business metric you want to move?
Mhm.
And it doesn't have to be the end one. It doesn't have to be revenue, right? And profit. It can be one that's like, I want this important process of maybe records reconciliation to be done. Instead of it taking 6 hours, I'd like it done in an hour. All right. Now, once you understand that goal, use that to work backwards and say what has to be true in the data and in the agentic AI workflow for that records reconciliation process to happen, right, effectively, whatever the use case is. And my point is that we should never start from the technology. We should start from the business problem and then use that as a forcing function to figure out whether agentic AI is even the right choice in it, because it's not always the right choice. And if it is the right choice, then what do you need the data to look like? And what tools do you need to integrate with the large language models that allow you to get to improved speed, improved accuracy, and improved consistency? And I think if you just go down that simple construct of thinking, right, knowing what the end state can deliver, your organization will kind of self-organize, if you will, to kind of solve for that problem. And once you solve it, you have a playbook that you can repeat throughout the rest of your business processes and organization. The sum of all those transformations will be equal to the ROI that you deliver to the business for the integration of AI.
Yeah. So what you're saying is start with the business problem,
Yep.
right? Then go with the data. And then finally, what is it that you want the agentic AI to do?
Yes.
But kind of like it's kind of like the last thing, because it's after you define the problem, it's after you look at the data and whether the data supports that. And
exactly.
Then,
can the data even support my problem, right? My goal. Can it even support my goal? Yep.
Right. So yeah, Gustavo here from the community is putting here a comment. He's saying temperature in LLMs is often misunderstood as truthfulness or hallucination control, when in fact it only changes the randomness of sampling from the model's probability distribution. Temperature only affects how spread out or peak the sampling is, not whether the underlying probability. So yeah, it's still not. I mean, not
No,
the
I agree
magic.
with that statement. I mean, it's hard to compress these conversations down to that level, but the reality is that it is. I mean, the reason why you can ask a large language model for a response, or a prompt, and you can send the same prompt in twice and get different responses, is because there's variability in the selection of the next state. And that's fine for certain problems, but it's not fine for many problems. So I think that we just need to understand that dynamic. And that's just one area of potential, non-determinism that you can get in pure generative AI, interactions.
Which at the end of the day, a lot of what you're saying is, have the right tools, right?
Yeah.
Apply to your business problem, apply to your workflow, and of course, I mean, the fact that these are workflows and there are so many moving pieces compounds the problem of agentic AI, in the sense that, if you go in and try to solve something very narrow, maybe you can build that, and it doesn't necessarily have to be AI. But when you want to solve a whole workflow, and you have things that can change, and the agent needs to make decisions and so on and so forth, then yeah, it's way too much things that can go wrong, and some of them will go wrong.
Yeah, and we're not fear mongering in this. We're simply saying just understand what you have, and what the strengths and weaknesses are, so that you can prescribe an appropriate strategy in the business and the right choice in technologies to make it work. I mean, this industry is in a very important moment. And when you have this MIT study that came out with 95% failing, I mean, that's a wake-up call for the entire industry. No, we should not be burning billions of dollars of experiments just to hope to get 5% of them are going to get a return. That is not a good equation. And so what I'm saying is, let's understand what we have. Let's make sure we, as experts in this field, prescribe the right approach that improves all three phases: speed, accuracy, and consistency. If in a business process organization, if I have the same inputs and I run that, most business processes, if I have the same inputs and I run it 1,000 times, I expect the same answer 1,000 times, not 900 times, not 950 times, 1,000 times. Otherwise, you won't trust that process. So that's why I say the next phase of this entire agentic market is a moment of trust. Can we build AI that allows businesses to trust it so that they can move and gain the ROI they expect out of their business?
Yeah, that's pretty powerful. So, Bryan, we're almost running out of time. So, any final recommendations that you might do for people going into AI, starting their AI journey, and how can they work with SAS to make this build robust systems that deliver results reliably?
Yeah, I definitely would say, look, I will say that I believe that part of the trust conversation that is mentioned is that working with software vendors and independent software vendors that have a proven track record, right? I mean, SAS has been in the market now for almost 50 years, constantly innovating. We're doing incredibly innovative things. I think that, when you're considering options in the market, looking for partners like companies of us who have seen problems for a very long time, as well as the new ones and older ones. And by the way, history rhymes. We have a unique perspective on the market that allows us to deliver a real ROI with AI. And I think that's something that people should consider us for. So for us, that is SAS Viya. That's our solutions, and that's our agents and models that we deliver for the market. For customers who are just considering how to do the change management in the business, I do recommend, to your point, whether they call it a chief AI officer or a team of people where their goal is really to say, let's inventory the use cases that we want to transform the company on, and let's intentionally work through those one at a time at first. Take one, get it done right, get the outcome you want, and then use that success to motivate the organization in a way that says, hey, we can do this. We can transform our company by leveraging AI. And the third one, I think, is for me one of the most important, is I'm asking leaders to use empowering language around the use of AI into the market. AI is not happening to us. AI is being driven, agendas are being driven by business leaders, executives, and companies. The next brands in the world that are going to be successful in a sustainable way are going to be companies that lead with empowerment around how do I empower you with AI to be a better employee and to solve even better problems in the world to make it a better place. That's what we should be doing. Not saying AI is coming for your jobs and it's not the person that, not AI, it's going to be the person who uses AI. It's guys, it's a technology. It's a technology. It's a tool. Empower your workforce and build a bridge to the next set of leaders in your organization.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I mean, this is pretty toxic and it doesn't help. I mean, I made a comment on one LinkedIn post yesterday that it was about, oh, Gemini lied to me, and it it basically accepted it because I cached the lie and asked him if he had lied, and he said yes. So I was like, come on. I mean, those kinds of things don't help. I mean, we need to have a positive conversation about AI. And as you said, we are on the driver's seat.
Yes.
This is not about you being the passenger of something that is going to be is gonna leave you without a job and leave a bunch of people without a job. It's something that if you apply it correctly can be pretty powerful.
Do we want a society where everyone believes that we're going to just decimate companies with automation and AI, or do we want a society where we're discovering new materials to improve energy, or do we want a society where we're discovering new drugs to prevent cancer? Do we want a society where we're discovering ways to efficiently improve the way cities operate? I mean, there's just over and over again the cost of materials coming down. There's so many places where we can make discovery. And in many ways, I would argue that this is probably the next age, is the age of discovery, because we have this ability to overcome the information overload if we apply AI right and we invest in people to do it. How do we invest in what I would say is stood the test of time, which is how do we invest in human ingenuity?
Well, yeah, it's a pretty powerful vision and very inspiring, Bryan. And I thank you for that. I really think we need more voices like that, and not just kind of like the kind of like this is dooming, and we're approaching doomsday. So thank you very much for that, Bryan. Thank you for being here.
Yep.
Dedicating a full hour. We know your agenda is pretty busy, so thank you very much. And I hope to talk to you really soon in the future.
Ricardo, thank you for having me. And I tell you, this is a wonderful format to be able to have a long form conversation about it. So thank you. And I look forward to talking to you again.
All right. Thank you very much.